Well, here we are back with our guest, Dr. Idoo Noitall. By popular demand, our listeners have really been asking for his return as soon as possible. And I wanted to ask you, Doctor, why do you think our listeners like you so much?
Richard, I'm just guessing here, but I would say that most likely people appreciate my incredible intelligence, awareness of a vast range of subjects on which I'm an authority, all combined with an incredible personality and a background of complete humility. That's my guess. After listening to you and your ordinary guests on your show, I would say that your listeners are in for a dose of refreshing sanity and clarity from listening to me. Plus, of course, you realize that just my presence makes people feel more comforted and certainly optimistic about the future.
Doctor, I know I kept you too long last time with all of your important appointments waiting, so I'll get right to the questions from our listeners this time, and we'll try to make it short so you can get back to work.
Thank you, Richard. I appreciate your consideration. And I don't know if you want me to say this or not.
No, go ahead, Doctor. Whatever you want to share with us is greatly appreciated.
I don't know where this came from, but speaking of optimism for the future, I just got this feeling that it is possible you could grow up to become one day a good, well, maybe not good, but at least an average radio show host one day. Oh no, wait, I forgot you're already old. But at least you get your moment of renown with myself on your channel for these discussions. Now, what is it that you wanted to talk about?
Thank you for your kind words, Doctor. But I have to tell you that many of our listeners are actually struggling with a hard decision right now. Most of them are seeing signs everywhere where they live saying to immediately get their flu shots and don't wait. So they want to know if this is a good idea and what you think about it, what wise words of advice you might have. Some of them have even been reading that flu shots might be dangerous. So what do you think is the truth on this issue?
Richard, I've seen the kind of guests you have on your radio show. Your listeners are hearing from far too many conspiracy theorists. You need to tell them to just relax and keep things simple. I always tell people who are worried about vaccinations, just relax, breathe deeply, and repeat to yourself over and over, safe and effective, safe and effective. And eventually everything will be fine. And by the way, since I'm giving you a lot of valuable extra advice, for your listeners that want a totally natural sleep aid, and I mean totally natural, all they have to do is they can use this same technique. First, take the prescription sleeping aids that your doctor, that your licensed government-approved doctor prescribes for you. Take those medicines first. Remember to take medicines for everything that you're prescribed to take them for, and then start repeating safe and effective, safe and effective, safe and effective. And you'll fall off to sleep just perfectly. It works every time.
Doctor, thank you. That's incredible. But I have to ask you then, what would you say to our listeners who are worried about the aluminum and mercury that's still in the flu shots? And what about the animal DNA, the other toxic ingredients, the foreign contaminants, viruses, material from aborted human babies, other things that are in those flu shots that even most of the doctors don't seem to know about? Are the vaccines still safe? Are the flu shots safe? Should they go ahead and get them? What do you think?
Richard, again, I realize you don't know real science, so I forgive you. But obviously you have not even now memorized the phrase from Settled Science that we just went over, safe and effective, safe and effective. If you keep saying that in your mind over and over, these other conspiracy theory thoughts will eventually leave you and you'll understand things clearly. I have to tell you too, It's my obligation that your statements and your questions do sound somewhat racist and possibly xenophobic. So you really need to consider that you may need some therapy. It even makes me wonder how you ever passed the test to become a radio host. Oh wait, I remember, there is no test to become a radio host. That's how they let you in.
Well, Doctor, you've exposed kind of a sensitive area for me. My parents had high hopes that I might grow up to be somebody respectable, some kind of high position like a geoengineer pilot or pesticide sales representative saving the world from starvation, designer of new GMOs, something like that. But I just didn't have any of those elite qualifications, so I ended up having to be a radio host. But still, there was a positive side to that, right? Because I ended up getting to meet amazing, brilliant people such as yourself.
Well, of course, there are no other scientists, Richard, as brilliant as myself, but because of my incredible humility, I will not object to your comment. Now, are we finished here, or do you have any other questions?
Just one more thing about the flu shot, Doctor. Our listeners, many of them who are being told to get the flu shot right away without delay, they've noticed that the friends that are telling them to get the flu shot, as soon as they got the flu shot, well, they also got the flu. Is that a matter of any concern, or was that all just coincidence, in your opinion?
Richard, again, your attention span is so short. I would compare it to a goldfish, but I don't want to insult goldfish, some of which have a pretty good attention span compared to radio hosts. Don't you remember we just went over the scientific phrase, safe and effective? Safe and effective. This is the same phrase memorized by our best doctors in medical school, and I just gave it to you without even charging you for it. You should appreciate this, Richard.
Oh, you mean when I memorized that vaccines are safe and effective?
Yes, excellent, Richard. Now you're back on track to real science. Always remember, vaccine science is settled. That means, of course, if someone gets the flu right after they get the flu shot, there's never a connection. Correlation is not causation. We learned that too. Most likely they were about to get the flu anyway, and they did not get the flu shot fast enough. Possibly from listening to their conspiracy theory friends. The other thing to remember, and this applies in many cases, if they got the flu shot and then got the flu, it's very often because herd immunity was compromised by all of the crazy people that did not get vaccinated. This destroys herd immunity and ruins the perfect record of the flu vaccine for the people that do get vaccinated. We have to be very clear on how this works. Those people that don't believe in herd immunity, that don't believe in vaccines, who knows what they'll believe in next, what conspiracy theory they're about to fall for. This is a very serious problem in society. Just think, vaccines, and this includes the flu shot, are the greatest achievement of modern medical science in the last 200 years, possibly longer. They're always safe and effective. So how in the world are they supposed to work with crazy people running around not getting their vaccines, telling others not to, and ruining herd immunity? This hurts the people who have perfect protection from vaccines. It's an absolute tragedy. These unbalanced people who run around asking questions, picky questions, about why some people get the flu after the flu shot, not understanding anything about herd immunity. They ask why some children get sick or why some die right after getting the flu shot. These people are hurting all of us. Especially they're hurting the children. To be completely scientific about this, Richard, the bottom line is people who question vaccines are actually killing our children because this science is settled. Now, of course, I forgive them because of my incredible compassion. But if we really want to protect humanity, those who question vaccines and any aspect of settled science need to be incarcerated for their own protection and their own re-education until they start understanding the higher levels of science. Then when they finally come to their senses, of course, they're totally free. And they'll never miss their flu shots again, that's for sure.
Doctor, it's incredible. You're so humanitarian and wise. All I can say is that it's a good thing we live in a democracy where we can take the rights of other people for their own good until they can be rehabilitated and re-educated to see common sense. Thank you for helping us to see this so clearly and to understand it.
You're very welcome, Richard. And please don't be discouraged by how long it takes you to understand some of these simple concepts. Scientists such as myself are patient and they understand not all of us can be brilliant. And I will be back with you. I'm accepting your invitation and request to enlighten you further about the silly conspiracy theory of chemtrails and what real science has to say on that matter. Eventually, you're going to have some understanding.
Thank you very much for being so patient, Doctor. It must be a challenge on your part, but it's very much appreciated, and I look forward to finally learning the truth about chemtrails and geoengineering as soon as you come back. Thanks for being with us, folks, and I really hope that the doctor was able to allay your fears about the flu shot, all the things that you've been hearing from the conspiracy theorists who don't realize that all the vaccines are totally safe and effective and have never had any problems. Now you know you don't have to worry at all about the toxic ingredients. That's a big load off my mind, I know that. And you don't have to worry about any of the bad reactions that people have, or even the kids that, some of them that die right after getting the flu shot. Now you know it's not connected and it's always due to something else. Now you can understand from a real scientist why none of that matters. And if you just keep going on repeating safe and effective, that everything will be fine. And you'll also be doing your part to safeguard herd immunity. Remember though, if you do have other questions for Dr. Know-It-All or subjects that you'd like him to talk about, you can send them to me and I'll forward them on richard@lostartsradio.com and they'll get right to him. Some of you have asked, what is the real purpose for producing these videos? What are we trying to do? Most of the time when these kind of free educational videos are put out, it's to promote some kind of a product or paid webinar or something like that. If you want to understand why we're doing the videos, go to note number 2 that you'll see below the screen, and that'll explain to you what we're actually doing this for. There are actually a couple of reasons, and I'm happy to share those with you. There's a link to go to that explains more also of what we're doing at lostartsradio.com/club, CLUB, lostartsradio.com/club. But it's not necessary for any of you to get involved in that or any of our other projects. If you can just benefit from the videos and they will hopefully help you think a little bit further outside the box. And I hope you find them enjoyable. So check out that website, though, that I just mentioned, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.